Hey everyone, Kat here. A little note before we start the episode. We didn't finish the music for the jingle and the intro-outro on time, so this episode is going to be a bit of a test run. I do hope that you enjoy it, and I will definitely remaster this episode in the future. And now without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Known as Italy's oldest pasta, and is often described to be as delicious as it is difficult to perfect. You never would have guessed that a basic combination would result in such a glorious dish. This, of course, is referring to Cacio. Hey, Pepe. Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of Every Dish's Story, and today I'm going to take you to Rome. I come to you with a terrific answer for when you're in a hurry or just too tired or lazy to cook something extravagant, and that is Cacio Pepe, which is a simple but elegant pasta dish made with pepper, cheese, and either spaghetti, bucatini, or tonarelli, the latter being the most historically accurate of all shapes. I personally think that the coolest shape is bucatini. The pasta is slightly thicker than traditional spaghetti with a hole inside. I mean, how wonderful. In any case, to ensure the adherence of the sauce, using pasta with a rough surface is recommended. In some central dialects, Cacio Pepe literally means cheese with pepper. As the name suggests, the ingredients of the dish are very simple. Black pepper, grated pecorino romano cheese, and spaghetti, or traditionally, as I said before, tonarelli. All the ingredients keep well for a long time, which made the dish practical for shepherds without a fixed abode. Cacio Pepe is also a dish that has been around for nearly a century. According to tradition, the origins of this simple but delicious Italian dish of spaghetti and cheese date back all the way to the Roman Empire. Throughout history, Roman shepherds relied on Cacio Pepe as a staple dinner. Dry pasta, aged pecorino, and black pepper are all easily transported and do not spoil easily if stored properly. Contrary to popular belief, the Cacio Pepe recipe requires no oil, cream, or butter. The starch contained in the pasta and grated pecorino are sufficient enough to make the sauce. Pepper must be used in abundance, as in many Roman dishes. So, if you ever find yourself in Rome, you may hear a Roman waiter say, "Try Cacio Pepe," and often tourists don't exactly know what that means. But I can assure you that Cacio Pepe is one of the best pastas Roman cuisine has to offer, both historically and today. And it consists of only 3 ingredients. Can you guess? Yep, cheese, pepper, and pasta. Okay, now let's deconstruct the dish. What is Cacio? Cacio is cheese in Romanesco dialect spoken in Rome. And cheese, just like Italy itself, has a very long and rich history. Pecorino, sometimes simply called Cacio, is a ship's milk cheese that has been produced for centuries on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa and Asia. According to archaeological evidence, pecorino was consumed as early as 3000 BCE. The technique of making this cheese goes back all the way to the ancient Greeks, and then the Romans spread it throughout their empire, much like Philadelphia on the bagel. How did the Romans get their hands on black pepper then? Remarkably, pepper, the second ingredient, has been around since prehistoric times. In fact, it was used by the ancient Egyptians. Black pepper was found by archaeologists on the mummy of Ramses II, dating back to 1212 BCE. Pepper first appeared in Greece about 2,500 years ago and then spread throughout the Roman Empire. It was a valuable and expensive spice that was often used as a kind of currency. In 408 BCE, the king of Visigoths, Alaric I, had ambitions to take over the city-state of Rome. In response, the Romans entered into a barter agreement with the tyrant. In exchange for not attacking Rome, the king received 5,000 pounds of gold, a plot of land, and 3,000 pounds of pepper. Of course, he did eventually completely pillage Rome regardless, but right now we're only talking about how valuable black pepper was back in those days. Does pasta, the third ingredient, actually come from Italy? The answer is a resounding no. Pasta has also been around for centuries. An ancient rice spaghetti dish was served in northwestern China 4,000 years ago, and it was the first recorded use of pasta in the world. For a long period of time, the Chinese were unable to access grains that were readily available in Europe and the Middle East. However, not long after the invention of the wheel, the Etruscans, the Arabs, Greeks, and Romans were producing pasta similar to what we eat today. The Latin word laganum, that can be roughly translated into a flat cake, was used by the ancient Romans to describe a dough that consisted of water and flour, was then kneaded and then cut into strips. It was very similar to what we now call fettuccine. And so, it was the Romans who perfected the recipe for cacio e pepe long ago, making a masterpiece with just 3 ingredients. It was a common dish for shepherds who grazed cattle for months at a time. They would always carry a piece of aged pecorino, pepper, and dried pasta in their pockets, and also a piece of lard to grease the iron pans, so they would always have everything they needed for a full and delicious meal. And so, according to local tradition, this recipe is thought to have been invented by shepherds who spent the spring and summer months in the grazing meadows of the Apennine Mountains, which run through the center of the Italian peninsula, many centuries ago. You see, several factors make this recipe optimal for this purpose. Sheep's milk cheese doesn't spoil quickly, making it ideal for a long trip. Pepper was a spice that released body heat in the cold, keeping the shepherds warm and insulated during the nightly vigils in the fields. And pasta provided them with the carbohydrates and calories they needed to perform their tasks efficiently and effectively. However, according to Angelo Caretenuto, a Roman, an owner, and manager of Live Italy tours, the origin of this dish may not be as romantic as we think. He believes that dishes like cacio e pepe, carbonara, and amatriciana were actually originated in the mines and factories that once surrounded the Lazio region adjacent to Rome, near the places where low-income families in particularly lived. Dried cheese, dried guanciale, and dried pasta were hearty, affordable, and non-perishable, making them ideal for a quick and budget-friendly dinner. In addition, while the first 2 ingredients were likely used in the region literally for centuries, according to Caretenuto, the invention of these dishes, now considered Roman classics, likely to have occurred in the 19th century, when pasta became popular in Italy's capital city. He credits the unification of Italy for playing a major role in distribution and easy transfer of flavors and recipes. Also, noting that before this, poor people got their carbs from bread and polenta, not from pasta, which, as Caretenuto explains, came to Italy through Venetian ports. Today, cacio e pepe has gone all out and far from its humble roots. At London's Fucina, it was topped with truffle shavings. At Washington's Rose's Luxury, it was a secret off-menu offerings for VIPs. At a New York restaurant, aptly named Cacio e Pepe, it was cooked in a pecorino wheel and served tableside as a spectacle. Back home in Rome, the dish has reached its all-time high level, appearing on the menu at La Pergola, a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant. But despite its international acclaim and elevated status, at its core, cacio e pepe remains a consistently simple dish. As with many Italian classics, the secret to its success lies in the purity of the ingredients. To deviate from the 3-ingredient formula is to risk angering the locals. We're pretty strict about what these dishes should taste like, says Caretenuto. For starters, pasta. Most make cacio e pepe with spaghetti, although the real traditional recipe calls for tonarelle, a similar local noodle that's a little more chewy thanks to the addition of an egg. That is what I would order if I were in a restaurant, explains Elizabeth Mancilli, a culinary guide and author of an amazing book of Eating Rome, The Good Life in the Eternal City. If I was at home, however, and couldn't get a pasta like that, I'd probably go for spaghetti. Either way, long noodles are crucial to achieving the perfect texture. You really want to cover each strand with cheese with the fat from the cheese and the starch from the water, Mancilli says, adding that this is what makes mixing it fast a lot easier. The next ingredient, pepe, or black peppercorns, should be freshly crushed to release all its flavors. Many chefs, including Filippo and Giovanni Rinaldi of London's Mama Farina Pasta, bloom the peppers in the pan by lightly roasting them, making them even more flavorful. Pecorino is very important because of the flavor and the sapidity that this cheese brings to the dish, they said, noting that either Pecorino Romano or Pecorino Sardo from Sardinia can be used. It's not blasphemous to add some Parmigiano cheese to the pecorino, said Caretenuto. Pecorino is a very strong and salty cheese. The starchy water kind of slows down the taste, so in my opinion you don't need Parmigiano, but you can certainly add some, especially if you're giving this dish to children. If all you have is a good quality Parmigiano cheese, echoed Mancilli, the cacio e pepe police are not going to come and arrest you. The ingredients for cacio e pepe may be simple, but the technique requires a bit of finesse to perfect, according to Simone Zanoni, chef of La Georges restaurant in Paris. It's pretty typical of an Italian dish where behind this simplicity hides a very complex technique. The technique in this case is to unite the starchy pasta cooking water with very finely grated cheese to create a rich sauce with no added cream. If you tell someone who lives in or comes from Rome that you put cream in cacio e pepe, Zanoni chuckled, he'll jump on your head. Everything has to be the right temperature when you add it together. Otherwise, you get this sort of a plate with noodles with a clotted piece of cheese at the bottom, said Minchili. And that's just not what you're dreaming of. But when you do get that elusive texture, cacio e pepe becomes the ideal comfort food. Cacio e pepe is certainly a challenge, but also a dish that's hard not to love, said Meryl Feinstein, founder of the Pasta Social Club in Austin, Texas. It feels like an accomplishment, for me included, when that glossy, emulsified sauce emerges. Plus, it's made with a few ingredients, and many you likely already have in your kitchen, so it fits in well with the need for pantry-friendly recipes. The flavor profile of cacio e pepe has spawned dozens of iterations, from gnocchi to risotto to lasagna. There are versions that make life easier, just like Rachel Ray's ricotta-based cacio e pepe mac and cheese. Imagine that. There are versions that make it even more over the top, like David Chang's recipe with house-fermented ceci, which are chickpeas, in place of cacio at Momofuku Nishi. Or the taco of cacio e pepe pasta served in a crispy chicken cutlet at New York's Noble Kitchen. Paris-based chef Taco Sequenet of Paris's Dorsaux and Cheval d'Or, excuse my French, recently posted a cacio e pepe pizza on his Instagram feed, noting that it's easy to make at home as the ingredients are often there, quote-unquote. You can make it whenever the spirits moves you, just like cacio e pepe, he said. Of course, you also need to make the pizza dough. For Zanoni, however, merely combined pecorino and pepper does not cacio e pepe make. We wouldn't call cacio e pepe pizza cacio e pepe, quote-unquote. We'd call it a pizza with cheese and pepper, he said. There is a vision of tradition that's quite unique, and abroad it has taken on completely different form than what we have here in Italy. One thing for certain, cacio e pepe has captured the attention of home cooks around the world, especially given the current pandemic protocols. It's funny to see how pasta, which abroad has always been perceived as this easy-to-make dish, is changing, said Zanoni, who often gets requests for gourmet versions of cacio e pepe from his one Michelin star kitchen in Paris. People are starting to give it gastronomic identity. And whether you're going crazy for the newfangled version or sticking to the classic, it's a comfort food dish that tastes great. With lockdowns and restrictions, we're coming back to old issues, that we couldn't always access the fresh products, so we had things that we could keep around for a long time, said Zanoni. And what is better than a hunk of pecorino, spaghetti, and a bit of pepper? Not much, I'd say. To conclude, however the cacio e pepe recipe was invented, one thing is for sure. It has won many hearts of people around the world, including my own favorite, the late great Anthony Bourdain. In one episode of No Reservations, Bourdain went so far as to say that this dish could be the greatest in the history of the world, and refused to talk about his favorite cacio e pepe restaurant in Rome. Interesting fact, this version of pasta actually is made with butter. The recipe on my YouTube channel also includes butter, because while I'm sad at the fact, I'm not embarrassed to admit that I haven't quite mastered the technique yet. Besides, I don't have pecorino available right now, but I do have a hunk of awesome Parmigiano. And if butter was good enough for Mr. Bourdain, who am I to argue? It's on this note that I'd like to end our first excursion into history of food. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are a visual learner and would like to learn how to cook cacio e pepe at home using Parmigiano and spaghetti, please head on over to our YouTube channel, Cheddar Cats, to watch the video recipe for it, where you also find all the information about the quantity and nutritional value of this beautiful pasta. Please like, comment, subscribe, and press the notification bell. It's really hard to get this channel off the ground, so please help out with the algorithm. Also follow us on Instagram at Cheddar Cats. Subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, and on every platform you can email me, you can send me a DM or write me a message or write me comments about the dishes that you would like to hear in the future. And also, I would love it if you can share some personal anecdotes and maybe family stories that you have of certain dishes. That would be absolutely amazing. Once again, thank you so much for listening. And remember to eat well, train hard, and love cats. Also, please recycle. Bye-bye for now. I'll be back on September 16th with a new journey.